teaching you to ask one question at a time. Well, I've got one for you, too. You know the White House's even bigger secret, don't you? What was your plan, I wonder?
You taught me not to answer a question with a question. What changed you?
Humans can't stay sane in isolation. Gave me a few epiphanies, though. What do you think a sane person is, anyway?
Someone who wouldn't try to take over the White House.
Should I be proud you've learned to banter? Let me rephrase the question. Say someone is locked up in a small, pure white room with no doors or windows. For a year, no, maybe even longer. They've got food and drink, no illnesses or injuries. They can even make calls to whomever they'd like. A voice speaks to them from above. You must not leave. No one else can, so you mustn't either. Then one day a door to the outside suddenly appears. And now my question, what would a sane person do? The way I see it, this era is making a ton of these white rooms.
There's certainly a better solution than breaking down the wall.
What do you think about
Two things. I love the line that's what does it mean to only ask one question at a time, or conversely, what does it mean to ask more than one question at a time? How do we, that seems to be a certain way in which the difference between sanity and insanity is sort of demarcated. Also reminds me of a wonderful joke that I think is, kind of apocryphally attributed to Max Weber, which goes something like this. What happened when Martin Luther tore down the walls of the seminary?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody became a monk.
Oh.
Boom. Yeah. The White Room, tearing down the wall. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for.
So would you say that is what this age is like? We're in a bunch of white rooms with information?
I think that is definitely a dystopian thing. I think there are some people who quite literally live in a white room, who are in front of their TV screen all day long, purely happy and comfort and secure. Don't feel like they're missing anything in terms of sociality or anything like that. And on one hand, who am I to argue that that kind of thing? But I also, the temptation, right? The temptation is to curate a perfectly comfortable and secure space that reflects exactly who you are back to yourself at all times, right? And so the white room is not just a white room, it's a kind of a weird room with like mirrors all around it too.
So here's something that's not said in the story that
Yeah.
Happy Chaos, the guy that was giving that question, the reason he causes turmoil is due to him loving the emotional part of today's immature culture. As humans pursue efficiency, they become mechanical and lose emo once it arrives.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that?
Well, that's nice. I mean, somebody who sort of focuses on the sort of, those, what do you say, those weird notes, or the way in which the kind of emotional. I mean, I think this person is sort of kind of positing that the emotions are a space of antipathy toward the strictures of reason, that the emotions are excessive, that are by definition uncontainable by language or sort of numbers. And so to sort of keep pushing on those emotional highs and lows and edges, I think is utopian. But what is, I mean, I nod my head and totally into that kind of as a romantic sort of critical reaction to the world we live in. But it, the pathos of the emotions over and against the industrial machine. But at the same time, imagine how much emotional labor is invested in the computer screen, and the degree to which, social media is just almost an affect engine, right? It just kind of constantly generates anger and happiness and pleasure and pain and sadness and shame and all these kinds of things. And so there's also, that, so the more we lean into those things that cannot be reduced to information, as a mode of resistance, we also have to recognize that the powers that be are also leaning into those very same spaces to, in a sense, harness them not for are resistant purposes, but to use them perhaps to further consolidate the sort of dominance of the sort of majority culture.